Should Kansas actually cut ties with Darryn Peterson and move on? It is late February. We're getting close to March. That seems wild, but that's what the biggest college hoops personality at ESPN says Kansas should do. Now, I know that seems crazy, and my initial reaction is to say, that's nuts. But maybe it's actually not quite that crazy. All right, we'll dive into it. All right, I'll tell you about why that could make sense here in this video, though ultimately I think it doesn't. All right, Kansas got smashed on Saturday by Cincinnati at Allen Fieldhouse. It was shocking. I mean, watching that game coming down the stretch, I am not a guy. I am not a betting man. I really am not. Hardly at all. But I was thinking there when it got to about an 8 to 10 point Cincy lead with maybe like 7-8 minutes left in the second half, I was like, what kind of odds could you actually get on Kansas to win this game? Like Kansas money line at that point, because I was like, I've seen this movie 100,000 million times. Kansas will find a way to win this game because it's an Allen Fieldhouse. That building will just swallow you whole and spit you back out. It's done it time and time again. And we witnessed a prime example of it early on this season in the Big 12 slate anyway, when TCU was in town, right? It's like Cincinnati, nothing against Wes Miller's squad, but Cincinnati is not built for this. They are not built to finish this thing off. Much greater teams than they have not been built to finish that game off in Allen Fieldhouse. Not only did they finish it off, they won the game by 18. I mean, it was staggering, just crazy to see that Cincinnati team walk in there and do that and hand Bill Self the most lopsided home loss to an unranked team he has had at Kansas. Emphatic stuff from Cincinnati. And what is interesting and funny, especially judging by the topic of this video, is that Darryn Peterson wasn't really the story, although he kind of was. There was some controversy, but his minutes, that's the way to say it. More on the controversy in a moment, but his minutes were not the story in this game. Darryn Peterson played 32 minutes. That's only 3 shy of his highest in a game this season. And I mean, unless you've been living under a rock and have not watched any Big 12 basketball at all, you realize that's been the biggest storyline basically the college basketball season, has been the debate around Darryn Peterson's minutes and or games played. He's missed 11 games for Kansas this year. That has been the biggest talking point in the game this season. We've had a hamstring issue, a quad, an ankle, the cramps, flu-like symptoms. That's why he missed the Arizona game. There have been a myriad of issues for Peterson at points this year, and it's why he has not played many of these games. Now, as I said, 32 minutes, you can't complain about that. 17 points, that's not, it's a ridiculous standard to be held to, but that's not typically as, if you took his like points per minute played and extrapolated that out to 32 minutes, you would expect more than 17 points, but I'm not here to like rip on a guy for only scoring 17 points in a conference game. I will just say there was still controversy around him, even though he finally played a bunch of minutes. And it's about this picture. It's about a screenshot that pops up. All right. So we've got this shot. I guess I could bring this up, courtesy of Jayhawk Talk. I think there were others that were passing this around, but you can see there's Darryn Peterson like away from the rest of the team as they're all huddled up in the lane. And that has drawn, you know, all sorts of talk of people like, well, if this isn't the perfect encapsulation of the season, etc. You know, I mean, that type of chatter. And it's not a great image, but I mean, let's be real. This is where I will step in and defend Darryn Peterson. Now, he supposedly was, I know Jayhawk Talk came back and said some of the context here, he was talking to officials, had been complaining to officials a lot throughout the game. There are a number of things and reasons and ways this could happen where it's not nearly as bad as the image looks, right? In some cases, or in some ways, this is just a case of people piling on, right? It's people piling on when a narrative has already been established for you throughout the course of a season. All right. But that was getting a lot of run on Twitter after the game, that image. And so it's like the guy just can't get through a game. can't get through a game without some kind of issue hounding him. This, of course, came on the heels of playing 18 minutes against Oklahoma State. Bill Self, I thought, for the first time, I don't even know if lost his cool is the right way to put it, but just couldn't continue to play the cover-up game nearly as much as he had and said it was disappointing. They thought they'd get more out of him that night. He also in the last week has now said, hey, the only thing you can do is to stop the noise is go play a full game. Well, he played a full game and now there still is a little bit of noise. Like Jeff Goodman, for instance, from the field of 68 was saying, quote, part of the problem is he hasn't had the opportunity to tell his story. He hasn't been out there. I was supposed to talk to him a week ago. It never happened. I was supposed to talk to him in Ames, and it's not Kansas holding this thing back. I'll tell you that much. They've done an atrocious job public relations-wise trying to get whatever the story is out there. I think people would feel bad if they heard Darryn Peterson's story, which that was a very interesting line to me. And I'm like, well, I want to hear Darryn Peterson's story. I want to hear Darryn Peterson's story very badly, especially if Jeff Goodman is sitting there saying hey, people would feel bad for him. I don't understand what the reason would be to not put that out there because it's leading to some wild takes like what we got from Dick Vitale here, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. But please do subscribe to the channel. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, pushing toward 35K subs. Appreciate immensely all of you guys out there who support the channel. So Dick Vitale is the one who brings this tweet and this take to you, man. And this is crazy. This is crazy. But here it is. It certainly got the internet talking, got the streets talking. Sometimes a divorce is good for everyone involved. And I firmly believe that needs to happen now. Even tags the official KU Hoops account, which touche for that. The official, you can see it right there, the official KU Hoops account. The Darryn Peterson soap opera needs to end. It has to be a nightmare for all involved. So sad as Darryn's talents are off the charts. That's wild. Dick Vitale, look how many, that got 1 million views. Dick Vitale's tweet got 1 million views, as you can see right there. So, yeah, that riled some people up, man, and rightfully so. That's crazy. You're going to take the potential overall number 1 pick and say, it's like February, just hit the road, guy. Just get out of here. We'll be fine. Skedaddle. I think that's mostly insane. There is one lane I can protect Dick Vitale just a little bit. Only one lane, okay? And I will attempt to do that in just a moment. But I don't think anybody in the general public, I guess I'll say this first, I don't think anybody in the general public would blame Kansas all that much in the short term if they were to get fed up with it and just say to hell with this, we're not going to deal with it. Because I think the general sentiment to Jeff Goodman's point is people are this is ridiculous. What is this? This guy should not be the number 1 pick. I think if you polled the average college basketball fan or the average just sports fan at this point, most people would say, yeah, I'm more on Kansas's side here. Kansas is getting screwed by this. He should not be the number 1 pick. You're seeing all the major debate shows at ESPN kick this around all the time. Huge topic. And so I think you'd have a lot of people that would certainly sympathize with you, would empathize with you if you said, we can't do this anymore. We'll see you later. But obviously the huge but here is if you're trying to win a national championship, you're not doing it without Darryn Peterson this year. I don't that Kansas team minus him, they beat Arizona at home already this year. They've proven they can do some great things. Again, I would say see earlier points about Allen Fieldhouse. That building can just swallow people up. A little bit different if you're playing on a neutral site in the NCAA tournament. But point being, that team is still pretty good. Melvin Council, Flory Badunga, those guys could take you far. Maybe Final Four far. I don't know that it's going to be national championship far. So you're taking away a national championship ceiling, I think, if you were to do that. And ultimately, the only way I could see trying to make this case for Dick Vitale would be if you're just hey, look, if I'm Bill Self, I'm saying, man, I've taken so much flack for the last 3 NCAA tournaments, right? We have not made it past the round of 32. in the last 3 NCAA tournaments since my last national championship. There's been all this speculation and talk about I can't handle the NIL era. Everybody else now gets to pay their players, and so I'm no longer the same. You can tell by the tone of my voice how annoyed I'm sure Bill Self would be with that characterization of him. So if you're going to say, hey, getting rid of Darryn Peterson actually raises our floor in the NCAA tournament, I'm just going to take that chance. I can't have another flame out like, well, the last 3 teams, but also like the last team that had like star power like this that I can remember at Kansas in terms of like one and done guys, Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid going out to Stanford in the second round. I can't take that chance. I want to raise the floor of this team because to me, Darryn Peterson raises the floor and lowers the ceiling of Kansas in March in the postseason. And Bill Self basically already said as much. He had a quote at one of these press conferences within the last week that was saying one bad day in March like this, like that can tank the season. That can ruin the season. So I do feel like you get a weird performance out of Darryn Peterson and it throws the vibes off with the rest of the team. That definitely could be your season. So that'd be about the only thing. But I think, look, if you're Bill Self, one, what kind of message is that sending to future elite recruits that you would want to be bringing into your program? What kind of message? I don't like the message, I guess I would say that sends. And the main thing for Self would be, how many years does he have left? What does a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8 this year actually do for you? Versus take your shot, swing for the fences, go Adam Dunn this thing, strike out, or hit a homer. Because if you hit a homer, now all of a sudden you got 3 national championships. You're on the same level as a handful of coaches, but like you're getting now to Bobby Knight, Roy Williams level with a 3rd national championship. That's the only thing that could tangibly change Bill Self's resume at this point as a coach. Like a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8, that's just a blip on the radar with everything he's already accomplished and how many times he's done that. But the national championship reigns supreme above everything else. And Self, I don't know how long he has left. Look, I wish nothing but the best health-wise for Self, but you can't ignore that it has been a problem. There was another issue earlier this year where he had the AFib issue and had to miss the Colorado game. So he may not have a ton of years left in him. If you've got a guy with the talent level of Darryn Peterson on your roster, I just don't, regardless of what Dick Vitale thinks, I don't think you can say, hey, we'll take our chances without you, even if that's going to raise our floor and, lessen the likelihood of just some total disaster happening. So ultimately, I see the point Dick Vitale is making here. I'm sure it is exhausting for everybody involved. Totally get it. But especially if there is a compelling story behind the scenes like Jeff Goodman was leading on there, you can't do this, man. You can't do this. Click here if you want to learn more about why Bill Self lost his cool a bit with Darryn Peterson last week.